The sun beat down on Dry Creek like a hammer. The air itself seemed to crackle, shimmering above the ground, twisting the horizon into a mirage. Dust clung to everything: boots, saddles, hats, the walls of the saloon. Even the breath of the horses looked tired as they flicked their tails against the flies. Marshal Eli Cade leaned against a wooden post outside the sheriff's office, his hand resting casually near his Colt, though anyone who knew him could tell it was no accident. Eli was a man who looked born with iron in his bones. His hat-brim shadowed sharp, weather-worn features, and his gray eyes studied the empty street like a hawk circling for signs of life. Life in Dry Creek didn't show itself much anymore. The town had been dying for years. Ranches swallowed by dust storms, cattle rustled or slaughtered, families packing up wagons and leaving behind hollow homes. Only the stubborn remained, and among the stubborn was one rancher, Samuel Hart. Folks said Hart was too mean to quit, too proud to run, and maybe too damned foolish to live. That's what brought Eli Cade to town. Inside the saloon, a piano struggled out a tune with half its keys dead, and the smell of stale whiskey tangled with cigar smoke. Men hunched at tables, speaking in low tones, their eyes snapping up whenever the door creaked. Fear was thick, hiding in every shadow, and then she walked in. Clara Weston, 19, maybe 20. A rancher's daughter with eyes like storm clouds before a downpour. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tied back in a loose braid, but her steps were fast, desperate. She spotted Ali and made straight for him, grabbing his sleeve with trembling hands. "They're going to kill us," she blurted, her voice breaking. "Mr. Cade, you've got to come. They'll be here any moment." The saloon went silent, chairs scraped back, but no one stood to help. The piano player froze with his fingers hovering above the keys. Eli Cade studied her, his jaw tightening. "Who's coming, miss?" Clara swallowed hard, eyes darting toward the door as if expecting devils to ride in that instant. "The Blackthorn gang. 5 of them. They've already burned 2 ranches on the edge of town. My pa tried to stand against them." Her voice cracked. "And they swore we'd be next. Said before sundown, we'd be buzzard bones." The name sent a ripple of unease through the saloon. Blackthorn. Outlaws meaner than coyotes, with a taste for cruelty that went beyond money or cattle. They left messages in fire and blood. No sheriff in 3 counties had managed to bring them in alive. Eli Cade exhaled slow, then straightened, tugging his hat lower. His boots creaked against the saloon floorboards as he stood. "Take me to your pie." Clara nodded, relief washing over her face, and hurried toward the swinging doors. Eli followed, the silence of the saloon breaking only after they left, when whispers and mutters rose like a nervous wind. The Hart Ranch lay about a mile outside of town, where the prairie stretched wide and the wind sang through brittle grass. The main house was sturdy but worn, its paint blistered by years of sun. Out front, Samuel Hart stood leaning on his Winchester, tall and broad-shouldered, with a beard going gray at the edges. His face was cut from stone, but his eyes betrayed the weight of what was coming. "Marshal," Hart greeted, nodding once. "Figured you'd turn up sooner or later. News travels fast, I reckon." Eli tipped his hat. "Your daughter tells me you're expecting company." Hart chuckled dryly. "Not the kind you invite in for supper." He looked past Eli at Clara, and his hard tone softened. "You shouldn't have gone to town, girl. I had to," she whispered. "We can't fight them alone." Hart's gaze held hers for a long, silent moment, then he shifted back to Eli. "She's right. But make no mistake, Cade. I ain't running. Blackthorn wants this land. He can damn well choke on the dirt trying to take it." Eli studied him. "You know what they've done to others." "I know," Hart said grimly. He lifted his rifle, "which is why they won't take me alive." The sun sank lower, painting the land in fire and long shadows. The ranch was quiet, too quiet. The cattle lowed nervously in their pens, sensing what the humans already knew. A storm was coming, though not from the sky. Clara stood on the porch, wringing her hands, eyes on the horizon. Eli checked his revolver, the weight familiar, comforting in its way. Hart stood tall, rifle across his arms, staring into the setting sun like a man waiting for judgment. And then came the sound. Hoofbeats. Slow at first, then louder, rolling like thunder across the plain. The Blackthorn gang. 5 riders crested the rise, dark shapes against the dying light. At their head rode Jeb Blackthorn himself, tall in the saddle, his duster flapping like the wings of some carrion bird. His face was long, cruel, with a scar slashing across one cheek. His men fanned out behind him, grinning wolves hungry for the kill. They drew rein at the edge of the yard, dust swirling around them. "Well," Blackthorn drawled, his voice carrying clear. "Samuel Hart. Still standing, I see. Still pretending that patch of dirt you call a ranch is worth dying over." A Hart raised his rifle. "It ain't the dirt, Blackthorn. It's the principle." A Blackthorn laughed, cold and sharp. "Principle? You'll be dead before the stars come out. Your daughter, too." Clara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Eli shifted, stepping slightly forward, his voice calm but hard. "This land's under my watch now, Blackthorn. You'll ride off, or you'll find yourselves facing the law." The gang roared with laughter. Blackthorn sneered. "The law? Out here, Marshal? The law is just another word for a bullet, and I've got more bullets than you." The air was thick, buzzing with tension. Guns hovered near holsters. Horses pawed the ground, sensing violence. And then Samuel Hart leaned toward his daughter, his voice low, barely above a whisper. His eyes locked on hers, steady, unshakable. "They're going to kill us," he said. "But listen close. Clara, there's something you don't know." Her blood froze at his words. The whisper clung to Clara's ears, rattling in her chest like a rattlesnake's warning. "They're going to kill us, but listen close." She tried to speak, but her throat locked tight. Eli Cade's eyes flicked to Hart, catching that strange weight in the old rancher's tone. Blackthorn and his gang hadn't moved yet. They were still waiting, sneering, enjoying the terror they stirred like buzzards circling before the carcass cooled. Samuel Hart leaned back, voice stronger now, aimed square at the men who had come to kill him. "You boys think you're writing the end of my story," he growled. "But there's something you don't know. This land ain't just dirt. Beneath it lies something worth more than every dollar you've ever stolen." The words dropped heavy, like stones into still water. Blackthorn's sneer faltered. His men shifted in their saddles, exchanging looks. "What are you spitting, old man?" Blackthorn asked, voice sharp, edged with curiosity he tried to hide. Hart's lips twitched, not a smile, not quite. "You'll never see it." The next second, his rifle cracked. The first outlaw tumbled from his saddle before the echo faded. Chaos erupted. Gunfire split the twilight, horses screaming, men shouting. Eli Cade drew his Colt in a blur, firing quick and precise. Clara ducked behind the porch rail, her heart pounding so loud she thought it would drown the gunshots. Blackthorn's men fanned out, spitting lead toward the house. Bullets splintered the porch posts, tore through the sideboards, punched holes in the window shutters. Dust and wood shards filled the air. Eli rolled across the yard, dropped to one knee, and fired. One outlaw spun backward, his revolver flying from his hand. Samuel Hart worked his Winchester like a machine, the butt kicking against his shoulder, smoke curling around his face. But the outlaws were many, and death was patient. One rider charged close, firing wild. Eli pivoted, his shot tearing the man from the saddle. But in that same instant, another bullet found Hart's side. "Pa!" Clara screamed. Hart staggered, pressing a hand to the spreading crimson across his shirt. He didn't fall. Not yet. With grim determination, he chambered another round and fired again, cutting down the man who'd shot him. "Clara! Inside!" Eli barked. She scrambled through the door as more bullets whined past. Eli followed, dragging Hart by the arm, shoving furniture against the windows for cover. The house shook with every strike of gunfire. "Let me see," Clara begged, reaching for her father, but Hart swatted her hand away. "No time for fretting," he rasped. "I ain't done yet." His voice cracked with pain, but his eyes still burned like iron in a forge. He looked at Eli. "Marshal, I told her something, before the shooting started. Something that'll matter more than my life." Eli crouched low, reloading. "Spit it out." Hart's breath rattled. "There's a map, locked in the chest under my bed. What's buried under this land? Blackthorn's sniffing for it, but he don't know where to dig. Don't let him have it." Clara's eyes widened. "A map? Puh, what's under the ranch?" Hart didn't answer. He couldn't. His head slumped for just a second, his jaw clenched tight in pain. Then, with sheer will, he forced himself upright again. Outside, Blackthorn's voice bellowed over the shooting. "You hear me, Hart? You think you can bleed us out? You're already finished. You and that law dog. Both of you. We'll burn this place to the ground and salt the earth. His men howled in agreement. The shooting slowed, but the threat lingered heavy. They were circling, waiting for the right moment. Ali's face hardened. They'll come at sundown. They'll wait till the dark helps them hide their moves. Hart nodded, his face pale but steady. Then we give them something to remember. And Clara grabbed Ali's arm, her voice shaking. We can't stay. We'll all die here. Lalai looked at her, really looked, and for a heartbeat, he saw not just fear, but fire, a strength buried beneath her terror. You're right, he said. We're not dying in this house. Hart's gaze fixed on him, fierce despite the blood soaking his shirt. Take her, Cade. Get her out. But you make damn sure that map stays out of Blackthorn's hands. No, Clara said firmly, surprising herself with the steel in her own voice. I'm not leaving you, Pi. Hart gripped her wrist with surprising force. Girl, if you stay, you're dead. Listen to me now. This ain't just about us. It's bigger. Cade knows it. You have to trust him. Her throat tightened. Tears blurred her vision, but she nodded, because arguing with Samuel Hart was like arguing with the mountains. Ali rose, revolver in hand. His voice was steady, low. When night falls, we move. Till then, we hold the line. Outside, the hoofbeats circled. Blackthorn and his men weren't leaving. Not yet. And as the sun sank lower, the shadows stretched long across the ranch, swallowing the land in darkness that promised blood.